I'm Nina. I have 2 young children and I have a business, a camping and fishing store that I run with my dad that we've been running for about 12 years, which I really enjoy. I have been interested in psychology, counselling and emotional development since I was a young child. Relationships are extremely important to me, and having healthy relationships and being as whole in my internal life as possible is my complete priority, because I want to affect the world around me for good, and I want my family to be one that is whole and brings goodness and light to the world. I see my kids as the biggest investment that I have in my life. I feel really grateful to be a mother and to have the opportunity and to have kids that are emotionally strong and can cope with situations in life, whether they be happy or negative, to have really healthy relationships and to bring goodness into this world is important to me. And before I was a parent, I thought, I'm going to be an amazing parent. I was very idealistic about how I thought that I was going to raise my kids and how perfect my children were going to be, and which hopefully I'm hoping that's common. But as soon as I had my first child, I realised that those dreams were slightly shattered. That my ideal of, I'm going to have this perfect child, I'm going to be the perfect parent, and everything's just going to flow perfectly. It just didn't quite flow like that, and I think that was a really, really good thing for me, because it just knocked out a whole heap of that self-righteous, judgmental crap that I thought about myself, and it actually made me have to really dig deep and rely on God and actually ask Him, how do I raise my child in a way that is for His best? Because He gave me a lot of challenge. He's quite different from me. He's a very powerful person. He is extremely emotional, and often that can be quite overpowering. And I look at that and go, I'm not sure how to deal with this. My child has just flown off the handle because I've said no to something very, very small. And so that made me have to really look into a lot more. How do I help my child process things in a way that's healthy for him, so that he can actually cope with situations in life that he feels like he's spun out at or felt out of control with. And so it's been a necessity for me that I have been intentional in this, because I just couldn't have my child melting down every half an hour, every time I had to correct something or change a plan or stop a behaviour or just stop an activity because we were going out. So a lot of this intentionality has come out of just, we have to just survive on a daily routine, and my child is struggling with this. And so I've prayed a lot. I've looked into a lot of materials on how do I help my child in a non-shame based way. How can I actually learn how to empathise with my child when I don't quite understand how he's feeling at the moment, or why he's appearing irrational to me in this way. And that way we've formed a really tight relationship, because it's been hard and it hasn't always been easy. But what he's learned and the depth that he's come to in his emotional understanding has been amazing, and we can have these very deep philosophical conversations, or we can talk about how he's feeling. So as he feels like he wants to fly off the handle in anger, we can try and bring it back and go, no, what's the real feeling behind this? Are you actually feeling sad and you're trying to cover this feeling with anger to protect yourself? So we've been able to look far deeper into what's going on. And when it comes to relationships, this has really helped as well, because he's been able to analyse, how am I feeling in this place, and it's not necessarily this other person's fault completely. When there's a breakdown, he can actually assess where he's having an issue in his own life, and where he's actually maybe done something that has caused this whole reaction, so that he's not a victim in life, but he is taking responsibility, and he's working on change, and he's working on empathy, so he can see where someone else is coming from. And it's providing rich relationships for him and more peace in his life. And that's what I want for my children. I want them to be happy, and I want them to have strong and wonderful relationships. So it's a work in progress, and we're still learning, but it's molding me at the same time. It's molding my character and teaching me a lot more patience, which is probably a very good thing. What emotional coaching looks like in our family. I think with my eldest, what it looks like is we deal with a lot of anger outbursts, and what I have realized is that anger is not actually the primary emotion. There's other stuff going on, and what's hard with my son is he doesn't necessarily realize what he's really feeling inside his heart, and so we get a lot of anger and throwing stuff, going to his room, and we're not really dealing with the issue. That's just a deflection. And so what we do in my house is we have to wait for that to come. And when I first started doing emotional coaching, I used to try and do it while he was still angry. And that was a really big mistake, because it would just inflame the problem. And his primary goal in that situation was not only to remain angry, but to have complete control of the whole situation and keep it going, which was not good for our family, because we just kept going and going and going. So what we discovered was that he did actually need time out. He needed time for that emotional response to calm right down, because you cannot logically deal with a child when they're in that fight or flight type mode. It's a totally different part of the brain that's activated, and you can't get that thinking brain to get working when they're actually losing it. So we found that by disengaging and actually not engaging him, because he totally wanted to get us engaged so that he could just keep winning and arguing, we would tell him he needed time out in his room, and he found that reading a book actually calmed him right down. And that was when we discovered that was fantastic. That really helped us. And then we'd go into his room, and if he was still angry, and then you could see him riling up again, we'd be like, no, and so we'd shut the door and we'd just go out quietly and not engage. And then we'd just get into the point where all of a sudden that had calmed down so much that he was prepared to actually talk. And then we'd actually talk about what happened and what were the triggers, because there's always a trigger, and why did it trigger, and getting him to think through what was his emotional process. And actually everything that he was aware of was just anger, and trying to get him back to a place where he could recognize what is the primary emotion here, what has really been triggered here, was what was important for me, because I felt that he couldn't actually move on and make positive changes unless he actually understood what is really going on in my heart. Because the anger was just a protection to mask what he was really feeling, because what he was really feeling was too overwhelming and too scary. And I feel it's my job to actually help him identify it and then go, it feels horrible. This is unpleasant, I'm aware, but you actually need to feel this and work out what it is and see if we can deal with this. And if it's something that I've done and I've approached him incorrectly or in a way that has triggered that massively, can I approach him differently? Such as PlayStation. That was often a huge trigger. We really limit technology time in our house, because my son's, he's gifted and he's high functioning in the way he thinks, but too much of the stimulation actually, it sends his emotions just all over the place. He can't cope, there's just too much going on, and so we limit the time he's allowed on there to weekends, and usually only 20 minutes. Over that I find it's not good, and so I tell him to get off, and he just loses it. And so even in those times where he's calmed down, now we're talking, it's like, well, how can I approach you in a way where you can actually work yourself into a calm manner, and working out, do I approach you and give you 5 minutes warning? Do you have your own clock which sets in your own alarm so it can help you get off? And trying to see how his brain works, so he feels he's still got a measure of control in the situation, and that it hasn't completely been taken away from him when he's feeling distraught that he has to get off. Does he finish the level? Or so we'd compromise and talk through this sort of thing, but then also talk about the expectations in our family about, okay, this sort of behaviour with you throwing a mental and having it last for an hour after PlayStation is actually not okay. I'm going to have to withdraw PlayStation until we can come to a place where we can work on this and come to a place where we're working within what works for our family emotionally so that the family stays in peace. So that's one example, but we deal with it in a lot of different areas with schooling and homework as well. What I really appreciate about Wollaston Christian is that emotional well-being of the children is of utmost importance here. The leadership here deem it really important that kids are not only doing well academically, but that they are equipped with the emotional tools to be able to deal with each other on a relational level in a way that's healthy, that promotes good relationships, where kids are acting in kindness towards each other, where they resolve problems in a healthy manner, where it's not a punishment-based system, but it's how do we work to get to the root of the problem, or how do we create a way that we can have a safe environment where everyone's being respected, which I really appreciate. And one of the things that this school promotes that's been really helpful for my child is growth mindset. And I think when you get kids that are often gifted, they can be really scared of getting things wrong. They never want to be seen as stupid as such, or making a mistake that's just horrifying for them. And I don't think that's just gifted kids. I think that's many children really struggle with that, and resilience is something that is one of the most important things a human being can have. And it can be something that can be hard to teach, or isn't thought of necessarily as something that we need to develop in children, but I see it as incredibly important that kids learn how to deal with problems and with things that are incredibly difficult. And what growth mindset does is it provides a safety net for making mistakes. I know that when I grew up, I probably didn't have this teaching, and I wish I did, because I felt that it was really bad to make any mistake anywhere. And I worked very hard to be extremely perfect, not only academically, but because I grew up in a religious family, I wanted to make sure I did everything right and perfectly from a religious standpoint too, which promoted a lot of anxiety and a lot of masks, and which I'm undoing probably in the last few years, wanting to be more authentic as a person so I can have quality relationships. And to be able to teach that at a child level, for my son to be able to understand that now is awesome, that he doesn't have to undo a whole heap of wrong learning, that he can start off with these really good foundations for basic life skills. And we have to deal with this at home, such as, spelling he doesn't want to do because he is scared of making a mistake even in front of me, and having to deal with it and go, no, mistakes are how we learn. We celebrate failure, we celebrate mistakes. This is how we actually grow in life and how we move on. Is awesome. And what happens with the school is that they're actually doing modules and proper teaching on this at school, and they're watching videos and they're talking about it all the time, so that it becomes a way of life that, yay, it's good to make mistakes and it's okay. It's not embarrassing. No one should make fun of you. This is a vital part of being a human and learning, and them encouraging that and even setting that up here, that I can follow up at home. And when I'm talking to my son and he's frustrated because he's getting stuff wrong, and then I can talk back and go, well, what does growth mindset say, and how does this really look, and is it okay to make mistakes? And he's very familiar with all that terminology and those words, because that's what he's learning at school. That is becoming a new truth, and that's helping to re-establish these neural pathways in his brain. And I am so grateful that this school actually promotes that and sees that as important, because I know that is the building blocks and foundations for helping him, and the fact that I can talk to his teachers about what he's struggling with and things that we're working on at home, and that they'll just say to me, cool, we'll work on that here, we'll keep an eye out for that. If he has issues with other children and I'm aware of it, and being able to go to the teachers and them going, right, okay, what sort of plan can we make here to help this situation, and then following up with me. Absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful for that. I feel that the teachers partner with me in the way that I'm trying to parent my child to be an incredible adult and human being that gives back in the world.